right? You're saying there's a lack of warrior. Well, everybody's bringing warrior. It's because you still want to end up banning warrior if in your lineup there's only one good deck against it. So for warrior to actually be dethroned in its dominance, I think that there needs to be other decks than priest discovered or innovated based on their current forms, just finding new techs in order to be better against warrior to actually shift this near unanimous ban that we have. But Kin already is going ahead of the curve and saying that just the priest, and maybe he doesn't feel that Demon Hunter and Druid have that bad of a shot against warrior.
Exactly. It is the signature strategy of both the Hong Kong players of Blitzchung and Kin to go for the non-warrior ban, and for very different reasons this week, it feels like. Blitzchung has a much more aggressive lineup with Highlander Rogue and Highlander Hunter, I believe, as his two third and fourth archetypes, whereas Kin has the Druid and the Priest, two much slower archetypes, all things considered. And for Kin, at least, I can very upright see the reason why he's going for this strategy. The Priest, as a single deck, has a great matchup against the Warrior, and it's only so-so against the Demon Hunter. And to be perfectly honest, if you're third and fourth deck, there isn't much disparity between the Demon Hunter and the Warrior. Like the Spell Druid, for example, I would hate to go up against Warrior or Demon Hunter with this deck, so it doesn't really make all too much difference which one you're going for. So for Kin, I can very much see the reasoning for why he's going with the Warrior being left up, even if I think overall it's maybe not the best strategy you could go for.
Yeah, I think there's potential in this mindset. I think there needs to be more support, aside from bringing Priest, to actually be leaving Warrior up. But yeah, you bring up a great point, because Blitzchung's idea for leaving up Warrior was not so much because the rest of his lineup is okay against it, but he just wanted to make sure that all of his Highlander decks had a decent matchup, and he was of the mindset that the high decks will be preyed on by Zoo, whereas they have a slightly better shot against Warrior, despite Warrior being the higher power level deck overall. In any case, I'm just pretty excited that we're gonna get to see a Warrior played, and it's gonna be from Alutemu, one of the most skilled players in Asia Pacific GM.
Yeah, especially with these types of decks, it feels like. Again, we keep bringing it up, but back to the old school Cyclone Mage, which was Alutemu's bread and butter in Season 1 of Hearthstone Grandmasters, which he was incredibly proficient with. It's these kind of decks that aren't necessarily combo decks, but rely on a lot of combos in order to get the job done in smaller ways along the course of the game. So I am very excited to see Alutemu play that. And I'm also just excited to see Kin try and get a win on the table. He has been one of our most consistent players overall in Grandmasters so far this season, coming top 8 every single week in the Swiss, but it just has not converted into wins during the round robin, which is pretty heartbreaking to see.
It really is, but at least for Kin, if you're going to end up 0-3 in any division, at least for him it is in Division A, and he is the only non-Korean nor Japanese player to be in Division A at all. So I think he is got a lot to prove, not just for himself, but for the rest of APAC as a whole. But it is going to be Demon Hunter starting off for Kin up against Alutemu's Druid. I see a Glowfly. I see an Innervate, but without the Fungal Fortunes or Ramp, maybe the Innervate is not actually a keep.
I think I still like the Innervate with this hand. I think it's just a very flexible card, and you already have the Glowfly, which is what you're looking for. But again, we're seeing Alutemu saying, if it's not Glowfly or it's not Fungal Fortunes, I don't want it.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that the Japanese players keep 3 cards in the mulligan ever. Glowfly, Fungal Fortunes, Overgrowth. Maybe specific matchups you could keep combinations of, say, Innervate when you already have the other ones, or Wild Growth if it all curves out perfectly, or even Mount Seller. But they are looking for that basic trifecta. Or can't, yeah.
Do we hate 4 2/2s on turn 3 though? That's on average what you're looking at with this hand. I guess there's a decent chance we draw a minion along the way.
It's a turn 3 though.
Oh right, yeah. Oh, well,
Kin's decision there to expend the Twin Slices just to get the Outcast was very, very painful, but the way his hand was shaped, he really needed draws other than Metamorphosis, because the curve looked like it was going to dry up after Umberwing. Oh man. Very slow hand from Kin.
Is indeed this Starfall, which is generally a fantastic tech to be looking for against Demon Hunter, is looking to be weaker significantly than you would be hoping for in this matchup. But I guess at the same time, if they don't have an early game at all, then you're kind of happy anyway.
Alutemu, the question already stands if he wants to use this Wrath for cycle, because as it stands, he doesn't have a pretty good turn 3 leading up to the turn 4 coin Glowfly.
Yeah.
But if you use the Wrath for cycle, suddenly he doesn't have a guaranteed answer for Satyr Overseer or even Frozen Shadow Weaver coming down on curve for Kin, potentially.
Team hero power all the way. I want to have an answer to the Satyr Overseer should it come down next turn.
I like the cycle, Daruk. I think Alutemu wants his Wild Growth or his Fungal Fortunes. And that, every time I see this matchup go in favor of Druid, you need to be going for the dream. Not just good enough, but absolute nuts.
Alutemu just does not care what his opponent does in these games at all.
This
He
one's
just
getting
wants to
cycled
get the most broken thing possible every turn.
I mean, it's been working.
It has! I'm almost certain that if Alutemu is doing it, then I am in the wrong. But I do just find it very interesting because the punish would have been there and it would have been quite a lot of damage that he's taking in the process.
To be fair, he had the Moonfire in hand, so if it were Overseer, he could
drew it.
have...
He drew the Moonfire off the top.
Ah, true.
So he had nothing, unless we're looking at Coin Starfall on turn 4, which, to be fair, is not a ridiculous thing to say.
Let me rephrase. He did not have the Moonfire in hand immediately, but if you look at the density of removal spells in the Druid deck, there's Fog Beams, not ideal, but could be used as removal if necessary. There's the other Wrath, there's Moonfire, there's Crystal Power. So aside from cycling toward his power spikes, he could have also cycled into just another removal spell to replace.
I'm glad you said that, Gia, because I thought you were about to say, to be fair, he didn't have the Moonfire, but it was the top card of his deck, so he would have drawn into it, at which point I would have left the cast.
Never been results-oriented out of an argument, Daruk? You should join Hot Takes.
Many a time.
Yeah, we did see Alutemu hold on to the second cycle, though, because he already had this play online for this turn. Coin, Glowfly, a draw off the top probably wouldn't have changed that. It is
and it looks to
only
me,
gonna
Gia,
get
like
5 minions, though.
Right, exactly. And so therefore, is this a play where we deviate away from the Glowfly on turn 4? Because I'm seeing a very powerful exotic Mount Seller starting to brew here. And so therefore, Wrath plus Hero Power here, or just Hero Power if you want to save the removal, fine. Glowfly on turn 5, and then Starfall on 6 into Mount Seller on 7. Like, I know it's very slow overall, but you're doing fairly powerful things at all points along the way. It's not like you're just passing turns.
You know, I really like that line of thinking, especially since he doesn't have the follow-up for Glowfly. No Power of the Wild, no Soul of the... Okay, there is one.
That was the top card of his deck. Why didn't he do it?
Result-oriented. But, you know, you bring up a really good point, because just clearing this way, it gives Alutemu flexibility to potentially even just Starfall this turn, leading up into a strong Glowfly turn. I guess the punish would have exactly Gravebound Adept. That's the shape of minion that is awkward for Alutemu's hand to deal with. Actually, no, he could just Starfall for 5. I forgot this can be used for single target removal as well.
Sounds great.
Yeah, so I love the play. He's on board as well. And now Kin's got to deal with this first wave, and then the Mount Seller.
Which he can do. Hero Power Face, Altruist, Fellwing plus Twin Slice does the job.
Indeed. Sucks to not skull, but it would suck worse to die to a Savage Roar on turn 5 6.
I think his hand is just forced here. But the main thing is that even though he's had one of the weirdest and arguably worst Demon Hunter draws I've seen in a while, the fact that it was all mid-game he drew obviously means he's going to have a decent mid-game. Metamorphosis to charge up means he's doing a lot of damage here. And so Alutemu can't just chill and do nothing for the next couple turns. He needs to get rolling pretty soon.
Indeed, and he could do so as early as now. But the thing is, coining into the Bog Beam, of course, coining into 7 mana doesn't actually activate Bog Beam and Iron Bark, so he would have only been able to play as removal there. And that's not good enough to deal with Altruist, but...
Is that lethal?
No.
5, 9, 12?
It's very
12
close,
damage.
though. It is very close.
It is very close, Chia.
My gosh. He's got to go for it. The only question is whether he wants to use the second slice as well. And I like the look of cashing this in while he hasn't seen a taunt yet. This is going to sell the return. You can reasonably expect it to get Iron Barked as well.
I love this. I think you want to... Well, okay, I was going to say you want to get it in before the taunt comes down because it gives you the out of Kayn to get over the top. But by that logic, if you're hitting Kayn anyway,
right,
then you can just second slice afterwards. So maybe you do hold it, even though you're factoring in Kayn and taunts.
It gives you the out of... I was going to say the other Glaive Bound, but then Alutemu is going up to 4 anyway, even if he hero powers. So the 1 damage doesn't make a huge difference in terms of breakpoints. But that absolutely huge. He even gets another ton.
Insane.
And he
Absolutely insane. He knows that the only way he was losing on the spot there was Kayn off the top, and all of a sudden he needs his kin needs a lot more to get through.
Not only that, the way the removal is shaped is perfectly taking out the Glaive Bound as well. Who cares if he summoned 2 Desert Hares? This was nuts.
Absolutely was.
Alas, poor Warlock.
Are you surprised to see the one from the right played? I'm a bit surprised because I-Beam potentially could have gotten locked in the middle.
It does just mean if he survives, then he can play the second one again.
Okay.
That probably doesn't matter too much because he's probably not surviving.
Definitely not. He can clear 1 minion, at which point there will still be 5 left for Alutemu, and I'm seeing Power of the Wild, I'm seeing Savage Roar.
Yeah.
I'm seeing game 1 to Alutemu.
I am as well. It was brutally close by Kin, and again, just such a weird draw. He did not get the early game he was looking for at all. But we're seeing such a strong playstyle developing from Alutemu here, where I'm saying, you know, keeping an Innovate to go for a turn 3 Glowfly looks pretty great. But he's saying, no, not good enough. I only want the best of the best. And even when he had the opportunity to go for the earliest Glowfly possible, still deviates Gia, still just going for turn after turn. Very, very solid thinking of how his entire game plan is going to shake out.
Yes, I think that was very, very well played from Alutemu. But again, I'm thinking, could the skull from the left have been there? Because I think Kin could have cleared off 2 minions instead of 1. Had the I-Beam cost 1 mana. Probably still dead over 2 turns, but might have given him a shot to try and draw to Kayn, if that helps.
And I think the point I made of being able to play the second one immediately was actually kind of erroneous, because the only things between the 2 skulls were an I-Beam and a second slice, which means the second skull would still have been playable on the following turn for Outcast from the left-hand side. So even the reason to hold it back wasn't really there. So I think you're absolutely right. That while it may not have been the difference maker overall, might have given Kin that extra turn to find the Kayn.
True enough. In any case, though, that is a huge relief for Alutemu to get the Druid out of the way. I mean, we always think Druid is the weak link, but maybe it's not that scary to be playing it if you are a Japanese player. And now Alutemu has got Warrior and Zoo Warlock to win with. I'm so excited to see Warrior.
I am as well. I absolutely love watching Warrior. And to be honest, I love watching Alutemu on the Zoo as well. Yesterday, up against Surrender, I think he just played it once, got the Scrap Imp Dream opening, and destroyed his opponent. It was a beautiful thing to watch, to say the least. But before we can get into the rest of that, you got to embrace it, Gia. I can't be hating Zoo all this time. I'd go crazy. Before we can get into the Zoo matchups, we, of course, have to go to a quick break after game 1 as usual. So don't go anywhere. The conclusion of this thrilling matchup will be back after this. You're watching Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Asia Pacific region, the second match of the day more specifically, Gia. And we have seen a pretty exciting bunch of games so far with a very dominant sweep for Glory for the first match of the day. But now Alutemu one game up over Glory with a very close but very disciplined game of Druid, as we have so consistently seen from Alutemu. But now, next matchup, Druid versus Warrior now for Alutemu, with his Warrior being left up. And this is not the matchup I think that Kin was looking to hit by leaving the Warrior up. But as I was saying, it's bad against Demon Hunter as well. So I think he's just accepting his Druid is going to have at least one bad matchup.
That's right. I think if I were to take a guess as to Kin's mindset, I think he would rather be facing his Druid into Warrior than Demon Hunter because consistently been banning Demon Hunter. I do think this is a very big deal though because Kin probably still feels it's at least a little bit unfavored. And should he take the loss to the Warrior from Alutemu, suddenly it's out of the way for Alutemu, and then the Priest for Kin might just get stuck. He feels it's got a good chance against Zoo, and I've got to say that's a matchup I do not have very much experience watching.
Yeah, it feels like one of those ones that Priest should have a decent matchup in at the very least, given that it has a lot of anti-aggro tools and heal to get back up out of range. But this one in particular is a weird one, Gia, because a lot of the usual tools that Warrior can rely on to dominate the early game, like the weapons to remove minions, War Maul to take very beneficial trades, don't really work quite so well when your opponent just doesn't develop in the early game at all.
That's right. I think Warrior has to default to one of their backup game plans, which, because their Warrior is still very strong, which is try and get to that ever so Anchor, which then leads into the risky skipper combos. And once a Glowfly board comes down, try and swing the whole thing with skipper, minion number 2, and then Blood Boil Brute to not only remove the Druid's board, but come up with a very big threat of your own. But also, the Wormhole Challenger tends to go unanswered if it is just played on 3, so I don't mind the keep.
Yeah, I really like the keep of Wormhole Challenger. To be honest, I was looking at the Rampage, because if you can hit that on the Wormhole, it is very, very difficult indeed for your opponent to be able to kill off. But they're not playing many minions, so it's difficult to damage it. Right. One way you could damage it is just generating a risky skipper off of your Pirate. Insane.
It really is. Already a decision point there for Kin. He wanted to save the Crystal Power to remove something better, or just get rid of the Sky Raider. But it turns out, Warrior, there's not too many minions that are shaped in such a way that just the one Crystal Power can deal with it. But oh my gosh. Anchor for more skippers. Sign me up.
It's looking real good now for Alutemu, because now that Kin has the Glowfly, well, was that an ooh of, oh, that's good for Kin, or oh, that's bad?
I mean, for Kin, from his perspective, that's what he wants for the early game, right? Is just to ramp from Wild Growth into Glowfly. And he can't be sure that there's a risky skipper in hand because Anchor hasn't been played yet, and this one was generated. So he's probably still going to go for it. And then he'll get the terrible news.
The punish is so extreme, Gia.
Oh my gosh. Battle Rage as well for later on. And
so Anchor draws any pirate, and it's good here, whether it's Risky Skipper or the Sky Raider, because he just needs to be able to activate this Risky Skipper for a second time.
Correct.
What now?
Oh my god, this hand is the dream. The absolute dream. I also love here from Alutemu that he is going for the Anchor and not what I think is a kind of bait with the Inner Rage Rampage.
I agree. Because this is going into enough mana for Kin to activate Glowfly, so he needs to have the answer immediately. And then he could just Rampage later. And the Inner Rage on its own? Sure, why not? 9 health is not something Druid is going to be dealing with immediately. Get the extra damage in while you can. But now that Kin's seen the Anchor, he's got an option to hold off on the Glowfly. Maybe by trying to cycle and find to buff the Glowflies out of a Sim Skipper combo.
Sure. Both of those options sound awful. Yeah.
Indeed. Because of this Wormhole. He could have been playing like a game of chicken where, well, I don't have to develop, and if you play development, then I can just wait longer. But now, with the Rampage, Alutemu is able to put Kin on a clock and force him to develop something, at which point he has the answer.
Yeah, it feels awful to go for this for Kin, but because the Sky Raider came down on 1, and Alutemu would be able to have swung twice by the time he activates his turn, Kin knows 100% that there is a risky skipper in hand now.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And therefore, the Glowfly always dies.
Yes. There is a small chance of it surviving if he buffs, but then it's still reasonably likely to die given that
Yep.
Alutemu will have a lot of mana by then and further card draw.
To be honest, we are pretty all in here, I think, for Kin on the Mount Seller plan. I don't think Glowfly comes close here.
Problem remains that he's unable to deal with this Warmal, so he can't just wait for the Glowfly, for the Mount Seller.
Ysera's nice. Maybe Glowfly can be enough of a distraction on this turn to set up for Ysera Ironbark on turn 9, and then just draw all your dragons.
But the thing is, the Glowfly is activating the Blood Boil, at which point Alutemu will just have lethal on board's turn if he can just play Ysera. Uh-huh. Agreed. Oh my god. Well, he's playing the generated one, I think. If that's the leftmost.
And I think you're supposed to hold on to the generated one.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter that much at all at this point, to be honest.
Agreed.
But it's something. He just needs to worry he doesn't run out of board space here, which I don't think is possible, given that bombs die every time you play something.
Yep, up.
Oh, this is so broken!
Oh my gosh. Watch the
How
fireworks,
is this legal?
guys.
Oh no, wait. Sorry, Gia, don't worry. That brute's going to be at 5 attack next week, so don't worry. It's all fine. It's all fine.
Have some armor, why don't you, Alutemu? This is another case of don't get tunneled in on optimization. Once the rope starts burning this turn, it's perfectly good. Just finish all the actions,
Oh, yeah.
and it is more than enough to the game.
This is well over.
Well, there's the Mount Seller.
Okay, so Mount Seller, Moonfire, draw with the Wrath or the Rising Winds, and hit Innovate, and then get, I don't know, 4 Griffins along the way.
Yeah, 4 Griffins sounds about right.
I don't even think that gets there.
You probably don't cycle the Wrath. If the out is 3 Griffins, then you
Sure.
do 3 damage to the Wild Brute.
Oh, you can only do 2 spells then, right?
Oh, yeah. Oof.
Yeah, I just don't think anything gets there. It doesn't matter.
That's somebody who conceded, or
And Hearthstone agrees, because clearly someone isn't happy there. There we go, alright.
Alright. You get that menu when you quit the game and don't even properly concede, right?
You do, but that would be a bit weird because Kin is still doing his turn, so it would have
Right.
had to have been Alutemu who rage quit.
Imagine.
He's just so disgusted at what he's doing.
Imagine.
I wonder.
Oh, wrong rush.
Pretty
Wouldn't
cute.
have mattered either way. Doesn't even come close
I can see.
to winning the game. So Alutemu, 2 games to 0 here, up against the Druid. This is what happens when you are leaving up Warrior. You have to be prepared for these kind of stomps. And for Kin, it doesn't always work out this way. Maybe he was hoping to get the Priest lined up against the Warrior, but it's Conquest. Pick order is impossible to work in your favor, and it's very difficult to predict exactly how your opponent's going to do it.
And that means Alutemu is well on his way to possibly taking the second 3-0 sweep of the day is Sunday. So for APAC, there's only 4 to begin with. All of these players are giving us a run for our money and how quickly we want things to go.
A caster's best friend, Gia. Imagine casting Europe. I've said it before, and I will say it again. APAC till I die.
Indeed. And that is just going to be Zoo left for Alutemu. And you know what? Just for science purposes, I would like to see Kin queue up the Priest because I don't have enough reps on that matchup, I'll be honest, to tell you, for just watching the way the decks line up, I would, maybe tip my head in favor of Priest just because AoEs tend to be good at Zoo, but Priest doesn't look the way it did before, and neither does Zoo. Zoo now has the Scrap Imp, which can get everything out of range of Breath of the Infinite.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, Gia, and say if you miss the Scrap Imp, the Priest is probably in a good shot. The AoE kills off everything. You're able to dominate the board. If we don't see the Scrap Imp, or if we do, sorry, it might be a little bit harder for the Priest in order to dominate the board. I know that's some next level analysis you weren't quite prepared for, but that's the stance I'm taking.
I'll have to break it down in the next mullet over. That one's going to be 20 minutes just because it is so complex. But unfortunately, it looks like we're not going to be seeing the Priest queued up by Kin here. He is sticking to the Druid once again, going up against the Zoo matchup.
Yeah, and at this point, given that game score does matter for tiebreakers, right, in round robin, I disagree with this choice from Kin. I think that Druid is probably the worst matchup he has left, as opposed to Demon Hunter and Priest. Maybe seeing something we're not. Again, he is a player who very much marches to the beat of his own drum, or at least what him and Blitzchung can brew up together. But yeah, I'm a little surprised to see this queue.
Yeah, I would agree, but with a starting hand like that, you know what? Druid's
That's what he
favored.
saw. Yep, we will happily take that as Kin. Alutemu on the other side. I don't want none of this stuff. I want Imp, and I want the Hand of Gul'dan as well. Oh! Well, you know what? Let's just get both. That is a hand that can get the job done.
It could be fireworks on both sides very quick. And oh my god! How does this keep happening? Derek! I'm losing it. I'm losing it. He's got the Imp, got the card versions, he's got the card.
Alutemu sits back and surveys his land. He is happy.
Oh, look at this too. We could be seeing the Innervate Overgrowth into, or just double bait,
Double
Glowfly.
bait.
Oh, we're gonna see both decks operating at max power level. Peak Hearthstone, guys.
And Kin's like, right, let's go. You got the absolute dream. So have I. Let's see if you can take me on.
To be fair, if he goes for the Glowfly now, it is only 5 minions. So he could deviate, go for Wild Growth. But it is really slow if he expects Alutemu's turn to be pretty much anything. The Carpet on curve is a huge punish. A bunch of 1-drops that are buffed is a huge punish. So he is going for the all-out play. I like it.
If you wait, even though you end up with 7 instead of 5, you're just going to get value traded by all the 1-drops that are being buffed up. Clearly, we can actually see Alutemu didn't get that insane of a hand of buffs, to be perfectly honest. The Wolf Rider is pretty disastrous, and obviously drawing any spells is bad. But it should still be good enough to survive this board.
Yeah, I don't mind him just playing 3 1-drops here. It's awkward because then the Carpet potential of anything next turn. But as you said, the Wolf Rider, it looks so disgusting. I think the question is between the 3 1-drops with the sidekick Expired Merchant, so it takes a VT right now, or just Carpet trade and hope that Kin is not able to deal with the Carpet, or if he does, it would require him trading the majority of his board.
So then if you go Savage Roar off the top in order to deal with your Magic Carpet, that means 2 of them have to go in.
That's not
that bad, actually. Yeah,
right? Yeah,
not that bad.
But then again, 3 1-drops is really good as well, and the Carpet is still a 3/8 later, potentially rushing a 1-drop off the top. These seem like avenues to victory for Alutemu. He was debating it till the very last second there.
Now for Kin, it does not slow down. Usually after you've had a hand like this, you're left with a bunch of rubbish, but now Overgrowth into Overflow with a Bulk Beam on the same turn in order to start clearing up the board. It's nuts.
It really does mean, though, that if he wants to get rid of the Carpet and play the Overgrowth, he's trading the whole board, but he's saying, let me take this 1 turn of slow development to get to my Mount Cellar and swing it back later on.
All right, Alutemu, now is the moment of weakness. We go for the throat. Maximum development on this turn. Even a Soulfire in order to try and take the 3 out of 5 to discard Hand of Gul'dan.
I agree with development. The thing is, he's only got 3 1-drops, so it's a little bit awkward. I'm just looking at the Wolf Rider plus Argent Squire, I suppose.
I guess Wolf Rider at a 4 health minion doesn't die to Bog Beam exactly, which is a huge difference.
Yep. I mean, it's
Oh, no,
the
sorry,
question...
3, right.
Yeah. It is just a question between wanting to float 1 mana to be able to essentially play a Beaming Sidekick's worth of more stats, which is not insignificant because of the health buff.
Yeah.
Or if he wants the Wolf Rider for mana expenditure purposes.
You know what, Alutemu, it's been working out for you so well so far. Hearthstone's not going to let you down now.
Alright, cashing in Soulfire now. It is a 60% chance to be great, and that's the one that didn't come from the merchant. So Kin knows that he just had both hands.
Ooh, big draw in the Moonfire there. Allows for
Imagine the Mount
very
Seller
easy
turn
clears.
next if it comes off. Oh! Popping off next turn, Derek. I think he just tosses 1 Moonfire now. Everything else held onto.
This is like Superman versus Zod. This is cities are being destroyed in the wake of this game. How are both players getting such galactically good draws?
I mean, I just saw the message from Sottle on Discord. Apex! Turbo nuts, Derek. We go fast and we go hard.
Is just the nuts.
Alright. Alutemu's next wave of development is, of course, significantly weaker because it didn't get affected by the Scrap Imp. So now he's thinking, how do I build the most resilient board against Kin's most likely removal spells? Which means anything that can go above 3 health to above 3 health. Or given Divine Shield.
That's an upgrade. Probably.
Yes. Very clean.
nice positioning. Yeah.
I have one word for you, Derek. Caw-caw!
Caw-caw! Yep, the Griffins, the Rushes, the Taunts, anything that Kin can get his hands on here to survive this onslaught. And it all comes at the whims of the Mount Seller.
Yep, he has got 4 rolls off of the Mount Seller, and the Moonfire plus Bog Beam allows him to deal with you. Oh man, actually, Altemu's made the board so awkward for this purpose.
He really has.
Kin has to consider the chances of the rushes coming off the top, which come in the shape of attack or 2 attack. Okay,
That's
prioritizing the most attack board. That is good
That's
as well.
pretty good too.
Oh my gosh! Okay, Alutemu can play the 3 drops after he trades something off and then guarantees Soulfire, discarding another Hand of Gul'dan.
Oh my god.
So what is he trading off? I guess one of the 1/2s into the 6/8 Mukla.
Uh-huh.
Because we're probably gonna see 3/5 into 3/3. Could also trade off the Boar, sure. Shield Bearer, Soulfire onto Mukla. I don't think he can actually kill the Mount Seller as it's... Oh, wait. Yeah, he'll be a little bit short as of right now. Especially since he's out of board space as well.
Still a little bit short as I counted.
Yeah.
1 damage off being able to clear.
Uh-huh. Oh,
In which case he can... What can he do? He can kill the Salit's Pride and then Orc Merchant his Taunt, just to make it more difficult to get through.
Okay, I'm still thinking at Og Merchant onto the 4/4 and let up something. Saving it all together, maybe to pair it with the Nightshade Matron next turn. I don't hate the sound of that. Kin is on 7 health, but with a very resilient minion and another Iron Bark!
The Iron Bark!
What?
This is so close!
You know what? Discarding the other Mount Seller probably isn't a
Who
deal
cares?
at this point. The bigger deal is that it's one less spell that he has. Oh. I'm losing, Derek. I'm losing it. The other regions need to get on our level. Look at this.
The crystal power! It's
Yup.
so good!
Things off the Argent Squire. He can also Power of the Wild, a bunch of things. He won't have the boards thing, but who cares? As long as he can taunt up and stay alive. Sure, kill off a Scrap Imp.
Yep.
Time waits for
Okay,
no one.
another
This time
shot
I love
for
taunting up
Rush.
Mount Seller. You don't want to protect it, you just want to stay alive at all costs.
Kin has not gotten any Rush minions, but strangely it works out in such a way that Rush is roughly equivalent to Taunt in terms of the damage
Yeah.
it prevents coming back the other way. Alutemu can start with the Matron if he wants. I don't say he's getting through 17 health worth of taunts.
I think you'll find it's actually pronounced Nightshade Matron, like the demonic president of Azeroth.
Okay. All right. Oh man, he is going to do his best to protect the Matron and kill off the Mount Seller. I do believe this means the the Patriarch is going to stay alive, and more importantly, Kin is gonna have so many minions left on board. This Savage Roar has got even through the taunt.
He's just got it, Gia.
Yeah.
How did the Druid overcome the dream draw from Zoo? Imp, Hand of Gul'dan, and the discard
Carpet.
effect as well.
Yes. Everything came together.
Everything.
But you know what? We were talking about this at the beginning, just kind of as a throwaway statement that we thought that the Druid Nutsan beats the Tempo Demon Hunter Nutsan.
Yeah.
And you know what? Looking at this, I feel like the Druid Dream beats any other Dream hand outside of maybe Exactly Warrior.
I think you're exactly right, Gia. And also, I really want to praise Kin for the most crucial decision he made in that game, which was double Vate into Glowfly on turn 3. If he had saved that for another turn, being a little bit greedier, I think he would have just got value traded away and had no chance of pulling back that game.
Yeah, that was one crucial decision. The other one was setting up for the overflow turn and conceding the current board. Even though it feels awful to trade 4 minions into carpet, it makes so much sense because if you leave the carpet on board, those minions are dying anyway from all the rushes that the Zoo can play from hand. It's so beautiful on both sides. This is not classic Hearthstone, Derek. This is 2020 Hearthstone. Love to see it.
That was like Tavern Brawl Hearthstone, where you just draw the perfect card off the top of your deck every single
Indeed.
turn. It was the dream for all of those players. But I think that they both gave it a really, really good shot of taking the game. I think Alutemu's choice to go with the carpet, when you laid it out, it can die, but just the fact that it clears the way so perfectly when your opponent wants to play the overgrowth on that turn, I think really set the stage for being able to go super aggressive, and it really was just that Mount Seller that stood in his way.
My goodness, that was a barrier of a match, but it is not out of the woods yet for Kin. He's still got 2 decks to try and beat the Zoo from Alutemu, but maybe he's thinking, all right, Alutemu's used up all his luck. The Zoo surely can't get that type of draw 2 games in a row, right, Derek?
You'd be thinking so, but it would actually be 3 games in a row, because the last time that Alutemu played the Warlock was against Surrender, where he just absolutely destroyed his opponent, wasn't even close, and then Surrender went on to draw garbage with it 2 games in a row. He's clearly got some kind of demonic pact he's made with the demons in his deck, because it is going very, very well for him indeed.
Didn't you hear the new balance patch, Derek? They patched Sacrificial Pact to now read Alutemu gets all of the cards he wants at the minor expense of having to smile every game. And there it is again, the Scrap Imp on coin. Hello?
Just his face. I can't get over it, Gia. It's just so funny. He's just so embarrassed. It's such a cute and polite reaction to destroying your opponent every game.
You know what? That is Alutemu in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Kin's missed a 1-drop again, and outside of Umberwing, the hand is looking so slow. a big yikes. Okay, there's something promising. Yes.
All of a sudden, he has a real game plan here. The Sata Overseer is going to be huge, and if it doesn't get answered immediately, potentially, we are looking at the Warglaives of Azzinoth popping off with it on turn 5. Although I'm getting a little bit optimistic there.
It's a very big deal, though, that Alutemu's not drawn Carpet. In terms of defensive minions, he at least has Voidwalker and Beaming Sidekick, which is about the best you can ask for outside of Carpet. But Kin will have the initiative on how he wants to trade. It's a big deal.
Problem for Kin now, of course, is that I-Beam is sandwiched between 2 5-cost cards going into turn 4. He has nothing to do at all, so he needs something off the top, because Alutemu here, whichever one drops he plays, is going to be in a great position on the board.
Yes, indeed. I am looking at max durability, so Voidwalker. It's a question of where you want to put the health buff. Because the way that Kin's damage is shaped, there's so much procs of one attack. It probably doesn't even matter because Kin can allocate things very cleanly. Versus Battle Mage also doesn't strike me as being a very big difference because of all of those one attack sources.
I think the idea is that there's going to be not a way to clear off everything quickly enough, so you may as well just play the higher attack minion in the Blazing Battle Mage to go more aggressive.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. For Kin, I think a Twin Slice off the top would be absolutely huge. Just Ultra's Twin Slice right now. No, that's one of the worst!
Oh, yikes!
How you
Okay.
gonna play the I-Beam for full?
I-Beam is okay. It's not that bad. 3 mana deal 3 is not the worst card in the game.
As long as it helps him weather this first wave of Zoo minions, there's only one more buff minion left, right?
This isn't even looking that bad for Kin, considering how good Alutemu's start was.
Yeah, it really wasn't. The initiative makes all the difference. Wow, he's not even trading into a 4/4 here. Oh!
I'm sorry for doubting you, Alutemu. I embrace our overlords.
The legality of this is highly questionable. Oh, two buff minion. Okay, this is the last of the Scrap Imp minions.
Carpet plus 2 servants off of the draw. Hello?
Exactly. I was gonna say, this is the last of the Scrap Imp buff minions. The dream to have after that.
Well, you know what? I think Kin is also going to be saying here, am I dreaming? Is this real? Could this possibly be happening to me 2 games in a row?
I don't see a way to race with the Metamorphosis. It just doesn't get there if he leaves everything on board. So it's going to have to be Warglaives.
Oh, he takes so much damage.
Yeah, he really does. He really
like, he can clear off everything except the Squire, I suppose, looks alright.
I think probably the Merchant as well.
Sure, yeah, okay.
Okay, he's leaving kick all. Okay, never mind. Last charge to face. I like this. And funnily enough, oh my god. I was gonna say, funnily enough, the fact that there are no minions for the Fiendish to charge into means that Alutemu can't get the extra damage immediately.
Yeah.
But why not have one of the best drops to follow up? And a ton to potentially protect them. I guess Taunt doesn't actually do that much because in terms of burst from hand, it's either Metamorphosis, Kayn, or Warglaives, all of which go through Taunt one way or another.
Right.
So he's just putting more damage on board.
It gets more complicated because the Fiendish Servants can rush in with the Magic Carpet to give you more damage anyway. But we can see it just doesn't matter anyway.
Yep. Kin was hovering over Metamorphosis to deal with the Nightshade Matron, but with the Soul Fire for Alutemu, it's just gonna be 11 damage, blisteringly fast.
I'm telling you, Gia, the only way that these Japanese players are losing is when they are up against each other. It feels like, because we have seen Glory lose to Alutemu lose to Glory. We have seen Possessi lose to Glory now. It's the only losses they're taking, it feels like.
Sign from Alutemu there. Of course, Kin can't see it, but you know what? I think we could clearly see from Alutemu's expression. He knows how hard he high rolled that game. Played it great, especially on his Druid game. But I mean, when you have both those components, the perfect play and the perfect draws, you're just unstoppable.
Yep, that's how you win Hearthstone tournaments. It feels like most of the time. But now, of course, we are looking at Glory going up 4-0. Alutemu at 3-1. It's only Possessi who is now at the slightly shakier scoreline, but still looking very, very strong, all things considered, and unlikely to go down to that 7th and 8th spot where he needs to worry about relegation. So I'm very happy for all of these players, but real commiserations for Kin, who is now down to 0-4 at the end of this series. As some ray of hope for him, I suppose he can just reach down from the bottom of Division A and hold hands with Blitzchung at the top of Division B for some kind of solace. But to be honest, other than that, Gia, I'm really not seeing much for him.
Yeah, at least it's Division A, right? So even if you're at the bottom there, it's not automatic relegation. You might have to play the relegation bracket, but Kin only has 3 series left, I believe, to even get to a 4 potential score after the Swiss. Definitely not a great place to be, and I'm upset that we didn't get to see Priest. I won't say that often, but right now I feel Priest is in the sweet spot where it can take up enough time and not the majority of the game in APAC. But that Druid game from Kin was so fun to watch. The nuts on both sides, and Kin still managed to take it. I think despite him going down in the series, that game was a real winner for me.
It really was. I love seeing decks do the best possible thing they can. I think it's always more exciting than them kind of floundering around, even if it can be a little bit silly along the way. But I, for one, definitely need some time to recover after that universally powerful match there from Alutemu. So we're going to go to a slightly longer break as usual. Make sure that you get yourself a drink. Do whatever you need to do to be ready for the next series of the day, which is going to be Dawn versus Shaxi, another player right down at the bottom. But for Dawn, it's Division B, so it is even scarier for him. Some heartbreaking Hearthstone may be happening after this.